Hello, how you guys doing? James here. I'm recording this video. You know, they mentioned about when back in 2020 they didn't want too many people talking about this topic because it inaccurate could prove, and they were trying to shut down social media because this thing that was supposed to happen, well, back during the pandemic. Now they got some research from actual research, which they don't want on any social media site, but yet now we see what happened years later after getting the shot.
COVID vaccines have been linked to slight increases in heart, blood, and brain disorders. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a study of nearly 100 million people that concludes COVID-19 vaccines have been linked to slight increases in heart, blood, and brain disorders. Now, there's a lot we got to get through. First things first, some are going to try to downplay the reality of this study's findings, talking about, oh, well, out of all these people, only 200 cases of Guillain-Barré were found. This is reaching at best. Well, look, if it's reaching and it's not really that bad and all vaccines have some kind of side effects, then why would they put the study out and say that it does lead to a slight increase in heart, blood, and brain disorders? Why would they do that if the findings were negligible at best? Obviously, there's something here. This is not me saying it. This is the study. Again, 100 million people they studied, and they looked for quite a few things like Guillain-Barré, like heart problems, myocarditis, pericarditis, blood clots, things of this nature. The very things we've been saying from the very beginning since 2020 when the vaccine was first being spoken about. The first thing that many of us said was, hey, it's a brand new thing. You might want to wait a while before you get it because we don't know what the side effects are. And again, some are going to say these are negligible side effects. Well, what if you get one of these quote-unquote negligible side effects and your face is drooped down, you get in the blood clot, you keel over and kick the bucket at 25 years old? What if it's you? Okay, now I'm not saying don't get it. If you want to get the vaccine, knock yourself out. It's your body, your choice, right? Free world. But there are some risks involved, and it's not me saying it. These are facts that have been uncovered in the study. Now let's get to some articles. Let's get to some news clips. I will link to everything I'm talking about right now in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. You see this article right here. We are on New York Post. COVID vaccines linked to quote-unquote slight increases in heart, blood, and brain disorders. Okay.
99 million people worldwide who were vaccinated were looked at. And what the researchers did, and this research and this data was published in a journal last week called Vaccine. And what they did was they specifically looked for 13 different medical conditions. For example, they looked for myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart. They looked for blood disorders that cause blood clots. They looked for neurological disorders, like, for example, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a disorder of the nervous system. And they looked for other types of diseases as well. And what they found was that there was an increase in these types of medical conditions after taking the vaccine. And even though it was a small increase, this is important information because, for example, if you have a history of blood clots, you want to talk to your doctor before you go out and get this vaccine that could make you more prone to developing another blood clot, which could be life-threatening. Or if you have a history of inflammation in your heart or inflammation in your brain or your spinal cord, you need to be aware of these side effects.
It's very simple. Now, again, we've been saying this for, I feel like, years now, beating the drum of this thing, and people say, oh, you guys tinfoil hat wearers, just go get the vax, shut up, go do it. If I could be in charge, I'd make everybody get the vax. Remember those people? Well, what do we say now? Like, just go ahead and get it, be forced to get it? What if you were injured by one of these vax because you were required to get it due to your job? What happens then? Can you sue? Now let's get to this video right here to see how they try to characterize it.
It's a question so many people have wondered. Does the COVID-19 vaccine have an impact on my health? Now, the largest COVID study ever conducted is providing some answers. A link between the vaccine and heart and brain disorders has been uncovered.
Now, researchers with Global COVID Vaccine Safety Project reached this conclusion after collecting data from nearly 100 million people across 8 different countries. Today I spoke with a local medical expert who says the COVID vaccine still outweighs the risks. We also talked to everyday people about their attitude toward getting the shot.
I'm going through a lot of mental and physical things now after, and it wasn't like that before.
So this person may have been injured by the shot. Okay, now a lot of people, mainstream media world, they don't want to talk to these people because that's going to discourage regular everyday folks from going out there and getting the shot. If they're already kind of on the fence, maybe they don't want to do it, this may discourage them from doing it. And again, it's your choice. I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. I'm just here to give you all the information that I have.
Elizabeth Foster says she questions if the COVID-19 vaccine she took in 2020 has anything to do with the decline she says she's experiencing in her health. Foster's still digesting the new data released by the Global COVID Vaccine Safety Project, which studied nearly 100 million vaccinated individuals across 8 countries. The report specifically looked at the adverse effects of the Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca vaccines, finding the following. The study links vaccines to slight increases in neurological, blood, and heart-related conditions like myocarditis, pericarditis, and Guillain-Barré syndrome. For instance, out of the more than 99 million people studied, researchers observed only 190 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome in people who took the vaccine.
See, they're going to try to downplay and say, well, it's only 190 people. It's not big of a deal. You know, out of 100 million people, only 200 people got Guillain-Barré. And if you had a stroke and you died from a blood clot, well, it was only a few of you guys. And to those who said there was going to be a risk, don't listen to them. Although you did get it and you did have an adverse effect, a side effect, you had a stroke, maybe you died. It's okay because it's only a handful of people.
Researchers stress the association between the vaccines and adverse side effects does not prove the vaccine was the root cause for the illness.
But we've been saying this. We've been saying that these things are happening for years now. And now the study comes out and says you guys are right. To the degree in which it happens is not necessarily as important as the fact that it is happening as a result of the vax. They're saying that right there in the report.
And I think what this study confirmed is pretty much what other smaller studies have said in the past, and that's the following. Number 1, vaccines have risks. I think only a fool would say vaccines don't have risks.
Dr. Jonathan Cantor, who's an adjunct scholar at the Penn Center for Clinical Epidemiology and Biostatistics, reviewed the study and still contends the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the risks. Cantor says the new research shouldn't erode anyone's trust in the vaccine, but instead prompt them to think about their own personal medical condition and their own need for protection.
Isn't that what she just said in the previous video? Isn't that what many of us say? Hey, if you fit into this category, maybe you shouldn't do it. If you fit into that category, maybe it makes sense for you. To me personally, that's not what I'm into at all. I'm 40 years old, never had a flu shot, so I'm a different kind of person. All right, but obviously there are risks with this thing, and I don't think we're going to know the full scope of it until years later. Just like with asbestos and other chemical compounds that were brand new at one point and seen as miracles, now they're seen as poisons.
What do you say to those folks who might have said, hey, we knew the vaccine was dangerous all along? Now here's the proof.
There's no such thing as a drug that has an effect without a side effect. So everything has potential risk. The problem is, what is the risk of the thing that you are trying to prevent? And that's where it comes into play. So for example, if you have for parents, right, if you've got a healthy 3-year-old who's had COVID 4 times already, well, then I'd say, I don't know what the benefit is that you're going to get from getting that vaccine today. But if you tell me that you've got a 84-year-old in a nursing home that somehow came out of a time machine and is now entering the world in 2024 and has never had a COVID vaccine, well, for that person, I'd say, well, then we really have to think about whether a COVID vaccine makes sense for them.
Now, I got a question, Mr. Adjunct, doctor, person, researcher. How about these 18-year-old young men getting a shot in the military and then they develop side effects later? Should they have been getting it? Should that have been a requirement? Should it have been a thing that was mandated by employers, mandated by the federal government at one point? Should that have been a thing that happened? Because you made a big jump from a toddler to an 85-year-old in a nursing home who may already have comorbidities, being sick or whatever. What about the young people who were forced to get this? Should that have been a thing that was done? Young and healthy, no comorbidities? I mean, come on, what are we doing? But that's pretty much that. I will link to everything I'm talking about in the box. But as I close, I want to say this. I think that many of us who were skeptical have been vindicated. Am I going to say that everyone who gets the shot is going to have these adverse side effects? No. But we were seeing the side effects happen in real time. We saw it. And people, they called us crazy, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorists. They called us all those names. Now, we're vindicated. Fortunately or unfortunately, it is what it is. But now you have more information. So, if you're thinking about getting the vaccine in the future, well, look at the study. Read it for yourself. Do your research. It's out there for you. From the professionals, from real people. Not just from ABL. I'm no medical professional. I'm just reading what they say and observing what's happening to people in real time every single day as a result of the vax. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And
a massive study of 99 million COVID vaccinated people has just wrapped up, and the results are pretty startling, at least to my eyes. I'm no cardiologist, though. Here is how the mainstream media is covering this study. Here's the Washington Times headline. Study of 99 million COVID vaccinated people finds links to brain and heart problems. And then here's Forbes magazine. Here's their headline. COVID vaccines linked to small increase in heart and brain disorders, study finds. But risk from infection is far higher. So you got to really worry about the COVID. Make sure the COVID is top of your mind. Cardiologist Dr. Peter McCullough knows a thing or two about the heart. So let's let him weigh in on this study. Doctor, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So your initial response upon seeing this 99 million patient results?
Yeah, I'm trained as an epidemiologist, so I'm very skilled at looking at risks. And just to give people some guideposts, any relative risk or hazard ratio or odds ratio, these are measures of association. Anything more than 1.2 on safety is concerning. Most of the risks described here are in the 2 to 3-fold increased risk range. These are astronomical, thinking that the data were truncated just at 42 days, so anything more than 42 days wasn't counted, that there's underreporting. People who come in with these problems are not recognized due to the vaccine, so they're simply not reported, so there's underreporting. And lastly, they weren't age stratified, so the myocarditis is the big ticket issue. So myocarditis really peaks in men ages 18 to 24. So if the overall risk for myocarditis was in the 2 to 3 or over 3 range, it must be astronomical for young men ages 18 to 24 taking the vaccine. So I wouldn't consider these small. I think the editorialists and the authors tried to minimize this. This study indicates and confirms what we've seen all over the world.
This is unbelievable. I mean, would you say this size, 99 million, is a pretty good study sample size here?
It's large. Don't forget, they estimate now that the world has, in a sense, been double vaccinated. Over 13 billion doses given. Roughly 7 to 8 billion in the world. Not everybody took them, so about 2/3 took them, multiple doses, 1/3 didn't. But the countries that participated in this study were ones that were largely heavily vaccinated countries that had socialized systems, so they have pretty good data systems, including the UK, Finland, other countries. The United States was not in this one.
It's remarkable. You also, of course, published a recent study along with Nathaniel Mead, who's been a guest here on our show. And can you talk about that? What does your data show there compared to what we're seeing in these results?
The data are cohesive. We reviewed the clinical trials program of Pfizer when we include all the deaths and adverse events, serious adverse events, from the intent to randomize all the way through the briefing booklet, counting the data even from the data cutoff to the FDA presentation. There was a 3.7-fold increased risk of serious cardiac adverse events with Pfizer. That's compared to placebo, so that's the cleanest comparison we have. Sure enough, look at the risks in this study. They're in that 2 to 3 to 4-fold increased risk. So it's all cohesive. Now, the Mead study recently a Dr. Turges, who is really an unpublished Springer editorial group research and integrity officer, is threatening to retract the Mead paper based on his own false claims. He's overriding the editors of the paper. This is really, breaking news. An average paper in Curious gets about 2,700 reads. We're at 300,000 reads, and we think Turgis is basically under pressure from the vaccine lobby to pull our paper.
Wow. Well, you know a thing or two about being under the pressure of the vaccine lobby, of course. I mean, it's unbelievable what's been happening, of course, to doctors who've been canceled and censored and blocked in this. Do you think we'll see any kind of movement given this study, this large-scale study, the 99 million study or the Mead study, that we'll actually pull these things off the shelf?
We're seeing greater movement. I testified in Congress on January 12th, 2024, and I quoted the Rasmussen survey out that day, where 53% of Americans think the vaccines are causing serious adverse events, leading to large numbers of deaths. That's 53%. We saw Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, in a sense, question Peter Marks of the FDA very strongly on vaccine safety. Marks was backpedaling, indicating they really didn't have a handle on safety. Now we have calls from myself in the U.S. Senate and in Congress and in the European Parliament, the World Council for Health, the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, and out today on my Substack, the Health Advisory Research Team in the UK, all calling for global withdrawal of the COVID-19 vaccines, not safe for human use.
Or you've seen in Bloomberg, I just read a Forbes headline, they continue to push this narrative that it's just small and that the number of vaccine injuries is small, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. And then we see these massive multi-million-dollar commercials from Pfizer during NFL games and so forth. So the marketing arm of this is massive.
It is, and they are attempting to whitewash a consumer product safety debacle. Remember the CDC VSafe data, 10 million Americans reporting in 7.7% acutely get so sick with the vaccines they have to go to the urgent care, ER, or be hospitalized. So we're talking about somewhere between 5 to 10% of patients who take the vaccines are indeed injured or have severe side effects. This cannot be covered up forever. There's tremendous public resistance to taking any more shots. I think the liability dam at some point in time is going to break, whether it's on those who mandated the vaccines, those who procured them, distributed them, administered them. At some point in time, this consumer product safety debacle will become fully exposed.
I'll get you out of here on this, Doctor, which is over the past few days we've heard from Russia that what the United States is planning on doing in Ukrainian biolabs and manipulating viruses, and we heard from Tedros at the World Health Organization, of course, about disease X and what they're planning for. What do you make of all of this? Are we getting ready? Are we sort of girding ourselves for another pandemic that these guys are about to roll out on all of us here? And I mean, when you think about the virology, you think about what's happening at these biolabs and what Russia says in this. What do you make of all of this? Can you kind of sort through it for us?
Gain-of-function research that is to make a designer microbe, in this case a virus that's more infectious and more lethal, is now in overdrive. These are broadly funded in biolabs all over the world. The biopharmaceutical complex is now analogous to the old military-industrial complex. So instead of kinetic weaponry and defense systems, we're talking about biological threats and countermeasures, that is, vaccines and therapeutics. And those working in these biolabs, heavily funded by governments, research agencies, and foundations, those who hold the threats and the countermeasures, they hold power. And there's tremendous amounts of money involved. I think the entire world's population now is at risk for these biolabs. I say shut them down, shut down gain-of-function research. This is not science for science sake. This is the new way that human populations and countries now are, in a sense, threatening one another with these in a sense, new arsenal of weapons.
Would you say these biolabs are one of the greatest threats to humanity?
Well, we've already seen it happen once, right? So the coronavirus, clearly a gain-of-function research designed to do this, to infect the entire world, make it sick. Sadly, people lost their lives. To make matters worse, we have a vaccine that just mimics the spike protein on the virus, causing more death and disability. This has been a total disaster. I agree. I think this is a much greater threat right now than the nuclear war or kinetic war. And whether it's by intention or by accident, there's too many of these biolabs. They're not inventoried. There's no safety standards. By the way, these are just occurring in the United States. This in Europe. This is not just in underdeveloped or faraway countries. Gain of function research is not outlawed in countries. The federal funding ban just dealt with NIH-funded projects. Foundation-funded projects are going on all over the United States. I think everybody should be asking questions, putting pressure on their leaders to get these safety hazards out of their backyard.
Well said, as always. Dr. Peter McCullough, thank you for your incredible work. As always, we appreciate it. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Well, what am I respond to that? Well, to all those social media giants that try to publish people who got their channel taken down, the account suspended, and here they were telling the truth all along. They were telling the truth all along, and you had to use code words. People could just really, until they actually, because it was spreading misinformation. Wow. And now it's coming out. And ladies and gentlemen, that goes to show you that they had paid big money and threatened these big heads who own these social platforms. Don't tell what we're doing or penalize them. You see, the rabbit hole goes deeper than what it was. So, yeah, that tells a whole lot. And I'm not going to put any conspiracy theory. It is what it is. Take it the way you take it. But people were being punished on YouTube, Facebook, any platform was talking about this. Man, they shut it down. Because they didn't want us to know back then. They want to get their plan off. And, hey, they succeeded in some ways. Half a certain population is gone. But it won't be because they're going to say it's not because of that. They're going to say it's because of some other symptoms that they have. Yeah. That's what they're going to do. Yep, they're going to say it's another symptom. No, they're going to try to debunk that guy. You know, that's how wicked this world is. It's a wicked ass world. It's a wicked world. And you wouldn't believe it till you heard it from the horse's mouth. They try to tell friends, family, people try to tell people. And they just want to introduce it. But notice how they didn't have the migrants come over the border to take that shot. How do we notice that? They didn't have the migrants do it, but they have American citizens doing it. Very interesting. Very interesting. And people getting threatened to get their job, everything. It's everything. But here was something else to talk about it from the spiritual aspect of it. Well, I want to show you when you show the spiritual aspect of it.
Hi, Great Miracles Avenue. My name is Reuben Arnold.
had a vision on the 20th of July, 2023. I worked in a hotel as of then. We were running electrical lines. It was Thursday night. I won't forget it. It's easy to remember this each day because it was the day before my birthday. We were running a little late. We were already behind schedule, and we had a lot of work still to do. But we decided that we were going to try to take some shortcuts in order to complete the job quick. This was without the notice and permission of my boss. I did this with my 2 other colleagues. This was to my own disadvantage, because it resulted in me getting injured in the process. It wasn't anything as elaborated with me, as attributed or anything like that, but I had a dislocation on my wrist. My colleagues, they taped me up. They gave me some painkillers. The painkillers had some anti-inflammatory in them, and I went home. About an hour after I was home, it was really difficult to sleep. Unable to sleep, like a baby, I turned in my bed. The pain from my dislocated wrist arched much. I couldn't sleep at all, and I was left with no choice but to stay awake. As I lay on my bed, I was praying silently because I didn't want to disturb my roommate. I kept staring at the ceiling, and suddenly my mind began to drift out of this world. And I was very much aware that I wasn't sleeping. Just like a paralyzed individual, I could help control my mind. My decision ability was taken off. I realized I was taken out of this world. Everything seemed like having a dream, but I knew it wasn't a dream. Some feelings I had can't be explained, but one truth remains. During this season is the fact that I'm aware something beyond the natural was taking place within me and my environment. It was at this moment that I begun to see things differently. I begun to see strange things. It was so real, and at the same time terrifying. I saw something like dark clouds gathering in the sky. It was so thick, and just seeing it sent a fearful message into my mind. It's this type of thick cloud that comes with storms and destroys lives and property. Everything appeared different. Instead of storm and heavy rain being the outcome of this thick cloud, I saw from the cloud a man, and behind him were 7 other individuals with a unique dress sense that made it easy to differentiate their field of work or professions. It's easy to differentiate the different sectors they represent. They were sitting at a round table, like a board meeting. That's the best description I can give for people to understand. One can tell that their gathering or meeting had no good intentions, as the atmosphere spoke volumes of evil, and the pictures around lacked mercy and empathy. So, you understand what I'm talking about. The picture behind one of the individuals was a hand holding a glass cup, filled up with something I couldn't see it clearly. I saw right behind the man, who appeared to be the leader of the gathering, was a flaming number written 666. A knowing came upon me, and I instantly knew they were Antichrist. To further solidify my perception, I saw at the center of the table, where they sat, it was boldly written, "One World." I couldn't recognize any of the faces, but it's obvious they were there to control mankind. I saw something shocking that happened to be the reason for their discussion. A tiny and smallish bottle kept on a turning wheel, and it had a label. When it turned toward my direction, it had an inscription, D and an A. I sensed something was wrong that led to the meeting, but at that point, I can't tell what it was. What they were saying in the meeting was not revealed to me, but they were giving keen attention and interest in the meeting. They continued their debate, their voices rising and falling, and though I hardly heard their words, the meaning of their discussion remained just beyond my understanding. In the same vision, immediately, I found myself transported to another place, one filled with chaos and unrest. I saw a field containing people of different races, tongues, and tribes being afflicted with diseases. Many died, while others were waiting for their set time to take in their last breath. The people I saw in pain were both adults and children, men and women, no restrictions to age or gender. It was an outbreak of a deadly disease. It was a scene of unimaginable devastation, where the specter of death loomed over every corner with no exception. I think there was a widespread disaster. As I looked on, a realization dawned upon me about the DNA bottle I saw in the previous vision. Without being told, I understood that the remedy for this tragedy lay within the contents of that bottle I saw in the gathering of those evil men. Suddenly, I saw how so many health workers, putting on nose masks, they came and began distributing vaccines to these dying people. But I was shocked when I saw the vaccine was exactly what I saw previously. I saw how on account of the vaccine, many recovered, and others received strength in their physical body. There was joy and celebration, and people were praising and thanking the government for the production of the vaccine. While contemplating on whether the Antichrist had good intentions for the people without seeking something in return, a woman dressed in purple attire approached me. Drawing closer, she spoke to me, and her words were so painful and pity. She revealed the hidden truth behind that tiny bottle, which served as a vaccine. She let me know of the deceptive plot to weaken the faithful and pave the way for the devil's influence. She let me know the vaccine carried a dark secret to reach Satan's goal in the last days. Each injection, which may appear to be nothing, will cause an unconscious transformation with time in a person's life. The DNA of those who took the vaccine will become intertwined with that of the devil himself, a twisted togetherness of light and darkness. Her voice said, "The effects will be so little in the beginning. I saw many who received the vaccine. I noticed a gradual weakening of their faith in God, a dulling of their spiritual senses. Their prayer life also grew weaker, and their connection to God was completely cut off. It was as if a shadow had fallen across their souls, covering the light of their faith. The effects of the vaccine they took became more loud. Christians who took the vaccine found themselves overcome by doubt and temptation, their minds clouded by evil and unholy urges. Some had the spirit of lust and fornication in them. The devil held them down by his newfound foothold within their DNA, sought to exploit their weaknesses and lead them astray. I was shown how, in churches and homes, the faithful struggled to resist the trap of sin. The purpose of the vaccine became clear. It was not meant to protect the faithful, but to weaken them, to make a way for the devil to overcome them and bend them to his will. It was a cunning scheme, devised to undermine the very foundation of Christianity and usher in an age of darkness and despair. Brothers and sisters, I was so afraid at this point. The new truth. I now understood that the devil never gives anything for free. Indeed, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, as stated in John 10 verse 10. But I know for sure, the faithful believers will God continue to preserve. I suddenly began to feel the pain from the dislocation I had again. I knew that God wanted me to know that the evil plans of the Antichrist is now about to begin. We are yet to see the manipulations of Satan in these end times. Please, note that this vision has nothing to do with the current COVID-19 vaccine. I can't specifically say that is also from the devil. I believe this vision is related to things yet to happen in the near future. I wish to call on all believers to take God seriously, because I see another deadly disease greater than COVID-19 looming, and its effect might be more terrible and unimaginable based on what I saw. Let us go back to the place of consistent prayer, seeking mercy and God's intervention. Thank you for watching to the end. Please help us get this message out to the rest of the world by forwarding it to all of your friends and family members. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel.
My response to this medical and what the man just got done saying, saints, stay in prayer. If you have family members, stay in prayer, because this is really coming down to the wire, you know. But just all I gotta say is pray. But really, I was just sitting here thinking that it was sad that there were some people got their channel suspended. They got kicked off of Facebook. They got kicked off of Instagram, probably Twitter at the time, just for voicing their opinion. Then they was trying to run down. We don't want people to know about this. But now, all those people, man. And like I said, and here's the sad thing about it. Some of the people that passed away, like I mentioned, that's exactly what they're going to say. It was something, it wasn't because of that. It was because of that. But we don't know what went through their veins. Like they said, like the guy was saying, the one researcher, did they have this problem before with blood clots or something like that? I'm just saying. But yeah, and you don't really have no freedom to really speak out on it. And like I said, this world is demonic. It's a demonic world when they try to shut your voice down. And even they trying to take out TikTok because the government believe is owned by the Chinese. But there's people revealing and showing video of things that it will never be on YouTube or probably Facebook. But they don't want that being shown. And they said, well, if we do, they tell the people, the Chinese people, turn over to an American. Turn to the American company. That tells you a lot. So I think they just passed a bill that they just banned TikTok in America. Because there's some stuff, there are people dropping truth on TikTok that you couldn't do it on any other platform. And it's a big platform like the major ones. And they want to control, like they have control over the major ones. And they have to go by the rules. It's bigger than what you think. But they didn't want people knowing about stuff like this. And like I said, if you do, you're gonna get penalized and all kind of stuff. Just for bringing out actual facts. So, but that's how crazy demonic this world is. It's a demonic world we live in, boy. And if you don't have a relationship with the Most High God, we in trouble. I mean, we all in trouble. Man, I believe that dream. Just look at the every day. You look at something is leading up to something, and it's something ain't right. But they're trying to not spread sheer panic. But anyway, make it, it's up to you, but pray for those who took that shot. I pray for your family, your friends. Because they said one thing, it was no big, but we don't know the next 5-10 years what's going to happen. And you see, it's from 2020, we're in 2024. You see all this stuff is happening. See, it takes a while to set in. And be like, see, and they start doing their studies and everything, but they didn't count on the long range, like the 5-10 year range. Once they give you that vaccine, now we're seeing how it's taking time, building up, going through people's veins and body. So now, when someone, the coroner or whatever, can say this caused it, you decide. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you like and subscribe this video. And use caution and use wisdom with your medical, with your body. Use caution, use wisdom, and do research. Do research. Get second opinion. And seek answers from the Most High God. You have a relationship with them. All right, then. Take care. Be blessed. See you on the next video.